New Orleans Pelicans. Right now, the New Orleans Pelicans are 20-8 in their last 28 games and are going into the playoffs on a 5-game win streak that includes a major 6-point road win against the Warriors and an absolute blowout in the final game of the season against the Spurs. During that time, Anthony Davis has proven that he is absolutely one of the best players on the planet, with an incredible run that has him averaging a godly stat line of 31 points, 12.1 rebounds, 3.4 blocks, and 2.1 steals a game. He has been, in any definition of the word, a true NBA superstar, and I think things are only going to get better. Listen, I know Portland had a very good season this year, and I know Dame has been an absolute monster, but it's not like this Blazers team is that good. In fact, Portland has the worst winning percentage of any Western Conference 3 seed since the Nuggets in 2006, and the Blazers finished just one game ahead of the Pelicans, so it's not like this would be a monumental upset. In fact, the only problem I can really see with New Orleans' chances here is that everything is going to be resting on Anthony Davis's shoulders. And since he's been incredible this year, that sounds like a good thing, but remember, he has only played in 4 playoff games in his career and he's lost all of them. So in theory, AD should be the best player on the court this entire series, but Dame does have playoff experience on him, so I can see why people might think the Blazers have an edge here. Personally though, I'm going to believe in Anthony Davis. I think he's taken a massive leap this season and proven himself to be a player you can build a championship team around. Going even further, I think that will continue in the playoffs this year, and I think that New Orleans will beat Portland because I think Anthony Davis will prove to be the most dominant player on the court. Which brings me to the boldness of this prediction. I think this is going to be huge for the future of DeMarcus Cousins. Remember, Cousins is a free agent this summer, but I think watching his team make the playoffs and possibly advance to the second round is going to have a big impact on his possible return. In my opinion, AD and Boogie were just really learning how to play together on the court, and were really just learning how to overwhelm teams with 2 unstoppable big men. So I think the Pelicans are gonna win, Boogie's gonna stay, and that New Orleans is going to have an extremely bright future in the coming years. Number 3, the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm just gonna say it, I think the Spurs are going to get destroyed in the first round of the playoffs. But before we get to that, let's talk about Kawhi Leonard, because to me, Kawhi's absence is the most interesting subplot of the entire postseason, and it's probably going to be the main story of the summer. I know I made a full video on this, but again, why is this not being talked about more? Right now, Kawhi is cleared to play basketball by everyone except his own people, which means the Spurs are telling him he can play, and he is basically refusing to take the court. If the same thing happened with any other team or any other star player in the league, for instance, let's say if James Harden just refused to play in the playoffs for the Rockets right now, that would be all anyone was talking about, and everyone would think James Harden was a horrible teammate and just bad person in general. But because it's the Spurs, Kawhi gets a pass, but trust me, that pass is not going to last long. I mean, miss regular season games all you want, go ahead, but right now it is the playoffs. This is when things get serious. What's more, last year the Spurs were up by 20 points against the Warriors in the playoffs before Kawhi went down with his injury. Because of that, this Spurs team seriously thinks it can beat the Warriors when the Warriors are at full health, as long as they have Kawhi Leonard playing for them. Which, to me, is why this situation is even worse, because we don't know if 2-time MVP Steph Curry is going to play in this series at all. And if he does play, he's probably not going to be 100% healthy. So, let's take a step into a Spurs player or coach's shoes here. How do you not get mad at this situation? How do you move on if in your eyes, your star player, the one guy who gives you the best chance to win, doesn't have your back? And yeah, I understand Kawhi is saying he's still injured, but if you're one of the other players on his team, I'm sure you're gonna have doubts. This is why this series is so important. It will be incredibly easy for Kawhi to try and force his way out of San Antonio if he doesn't play in the playoffs and if the Spurs get demolished in round 1. And yeah, the Warriors don't have Steph, but they do have a top 3 player in the world in Kevin Durant, as well as 2 more All-Stars and just a way better overall roster. To be honest, the coaching job by Pop to even get San Antonio into into the playoffs is just remarkable, but I think the magic is going to end here. I think the Spurs are going to get beaten up pretty badly, and that will only damage the relationship between the team and Kawhi even further. So just don't be surprised if Kawhi is on another team next year, and in case you don't know, Dwayne Wade thinks that team is going to be the Boston Celtics, which would be absolutely insane. Number 2. The Milwaukee Bucks. It's honestly just a huge credit to the coaching of Brad Stevens that the Bucks are not a big favorite in this series. In fact, according to Vegas, the Celtics are actually the favorite, which is kind of mind-blowing. I mean, Milwaukee clearly has the better roster here and has the best player in the series by far in Giannis. The man is a top 10 player in the NBA, in case anyone has forgotten. The problem, of course, is do you even know who Milwaukee's coach is right now? If that sounds condescending in any way, I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that. I'm just trying to prove a point. The Bucks kind of have a horrible coaching situation right now. Their head coach, Joe Prunty, by the way, has done slightly better with the current roster, and the team is 21-16 with him, but Bucks fans can't have much faith in this guy. With that said though, I am a firm believer that certain situations like this can cause future superstars to make a leap and become dependable playoff stars. Last year, the Bucks lost in 6 games in the first round of the playoffs to the Raptors, but there were absolutely times where Giannis looked like the best player on the court. In that series, he averaged around 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals a night. Unreal numbers for a 22-year-old at the time. This year, at the mature age of 23, Giannis does now have 2 years of playoff experience under his belt. He's gotten dramatically better this season, and just check the numbers, they don't lie. And I just think he's ready to unleash the alpha dog in him. I think Giannis is going to go into this Boston Celtics series with a swagger that says, I'm the best player on this court, you can't guard me, watch as I win this for my team. And the thing is, this isn't a one-man show either. The Bucks still have a very solid roster. Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, and Malcolm Brogdon are all good to very good players, and if Jabari can get going, this team is going to be a problem. Now, I'm not saying the Bucks are going to be in the finals this season, but what I am saying is, don't be surprised when we look back at these playoffs years from now, we point to this season as the moment when Giannis proved himself as a true star that you can build a championship around. And so I guess bold prediction here is, Milwaukee's going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's see if it happens. And number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers. When asked about potential playoff seeding, LeBron said, it doesn't matter to me if I'm a 6 seed, 3 seed, 2 seed, 8 seed. If I come into your building for a game 1, it will be very challenging. Which is kind of a cocky statement, I guess, but I see it as more of a confident one, and LeBron has certainly earned the right to be that confident. The man has been to the NBA Finals a ridiculous 7 straight times and has done so with some not so great teams. Remember, in the 2015 Eastern Conference Finals, the Cavs swept a 60-win Atlanta Hawks team, even though Cleveland's leading scorers in those 4 games after LeBron were J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Timothy Mozgov, and Matthew Dellavedova. So let's not act like LeBron hasn't done this before. Let's not pretend like he isn't capable of dragging a less than great roster all the way to the finals. And let's also not pretend like this roster doesn't have enough talent surrounding LeBron to make a serious run. Last time I checked, Kevin Love is still an all-star capable of giving you 20 points and 10 rebounds every night, which is already way more than LeBron had in 2015. And in terms of role players, this team does have good guys. On any given night, I expect at least one of Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, George Hill, Kyle Korver, Larry Nance. The names go on, but you get it, someone's going to step up. I did say in a second channel video that I think the best chance the Eastern Conference has to beat the Cavs this year is going to come in the first or second round, when the young guys are still getting their first taste of big-time playoff basketball. With that in mind though, I also do not think the Cavaliers are going to lose in those first 2 rounds, because those young guys just happen to be led by the greatest player of our generation, a man who has been on a warpath this entire season and only steps up up his game when the playoffs roll around. So, when you add the fact that LeBron is still the best player in the world and deserves the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise, with the fact that the East is really not that great this year. I mean, Boston lost their best player. I don't trust the Raptors because they have given none of us any reason at all to trust them in the playoffs. The Sixers have been awesome, but they're still young, and every other team really isn't that great, so I just think a lot of people are overthinking the fact that the Cavs are a 4 seed. I think Cleveland's gonna be fine. I think LeBron's gonna be fine. I think they're going to the finals. And to make this an even bolder prediction, I don't think the Cavs are going to have any trouble at all in the Eastern Conference playoffs. In fact, I think at the very most, they will play in one Game 6 this year before the finals. I mean, at the end of the day, it's LeBron James. Why are we doubting him at all?